Hello, everyone. It's a new week, which means I have a new podcast for you. This week on the show, I have a talented pastry chef and Food Network / cooking channel personality. You may recognize him from the show's Unique Sweets or Halloween Baking Championship, and we definitely dove into both. He also gave me some wonderful and funny behind the scenes stories and the best pastry tips for your next round of sweets. So please join me in welcoming Chef Zac Young.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you so much for coming on. Welcome. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you.
Of course. So I was looking back at when I last spoke to you, and it was during spooky season for Halloween Baking Championship.
Yes. October is the beginning of my busy season.
Oh, I'm
Because I
sure.
feel like we go from Halloween, which is, of course, my favorite holiday, to, my second favorite holiday, which is Thanksgiving. And then we're in the winter holidays. So basically, from September until New Year's, my life is insane.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially as a pastry chef, you're probably like just doing things 24/7 and coming up with new recipes, right?
Well, exactly. It's prime time for baking.
Right.
But it's funny because it really happens year round, and sometimes some of these things, start in March. And my friends are like, "Why are you testing pumpkin recipes? It's March." And I'm like, "Well, it's due for April because the magazine takes 6 months to turn it around."
Right.
So it's always funny to be kind of in season, out of season, and I feel like I'm working on Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, Hanukkah, etc. Year round.
That's funny. Yeah, I was just saying the other day I started getting pumpkin spice pitches for articles, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm already there. I need to get through like July."
I was about to say they're late.
I know. I'm
I'm
getting them
working on.
earlier and earlier though. Like I'm starting to get Christmas ones, and I'm like, I keep having to say to them, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, so I can't really schedule out till Christmas yet, but I'm gonna keep it in mind.
Well, that's like when they're writing these articles and they're asking like, so what are the trends this holiday season? And I'm like, it's February. We still have 10 months. I don't know what's going to happen.
No, I know. When you walk into TJ Maxx and all of those department stores, they're gonna have all the stuff coming out. Just wait.
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, TJ Maxx, I mean, has Halloween decorations year round, which is why we love it.
Oh, true. Yeah, I'm never complaining.
Yeah, TJ Maxx was always like the prop stylist dream because you can still find like Christmas napkins,
Oh,
in the middle of summer.
that's true.
Yeah, that was always always a little like secret if I had to style something or like shoot something at home and I was like, I need something festive and Christmassy. And this was, I mean, before Amazon really, because now you
Okay.
can, I don't know, you can buy everything year round. But yeah, TJ Maxx was always the like, oh, a bucket of Christmas popcorn from the year 2004. It's still good.
You have to look at the dates on those things because you never know.
Always. But I'm the one who buys them because I go hungry and then they get me in the checkout line and I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
gummy candies that I've never seen before.
Yeah,
And then it's like
impulse buys.
expires 1998.
Well, I mean, you survived it, so I guess they were fine.
I did. I did. It takes a lot to kill me. So,
Oh, that's funny. So I want to get into your food background a bit. I'm actually really interested in it because you've done so much and you've worked under so many amazing people. And with television, yes, but also like restaurants and bakery and how you kind of got started. So I read that you originally wanted to be a fashion designer. Is that true?
Kind of. So, I mean, I started in theater, dance, musical
Okay.
theater, etc. And, that's what I originally came to New York for. And as I was performing and auditioning, I always found myself in the costume shops. And even like in college at like theater camp too. So I always had this interest in design too.
Mhm.
And I realized kind of after I'd been doing it for a while, I was like, you know what? Like, I really actually kind of love this other side of it. So I pivoted. I ended up working at Radio City in the wig and wardrobe departments. And
Mhm.
that was kind of like, I mean, that was amazing, by the way, as someone who has always been thrilled by theatrical costuming, especially. I mean, that's like the pinnacle. I mean, the amount of rhinestones going on there. But like to see those costumes up close and to like, like work with those headpieces and I mean, it was wild. And also, like in high school too, I think I designed and built like three of my friends' prom dresses.
Really?
So, yeah, it was definitely a thing. And it was actually when I was at Radio City that I started baking Christmas cookies, speaking of the holiday season.
Mhm.
And it was just something that I wanted to teach myself because growing up, we didn't really do that. It wasn't like a family activity that we did.
Mhm.
So I kind of said, how hard can this be? And, did what anyone did, which is buy a KitchenAid. It seems like a kind of large investment looking back on it. But I bought a KitchenAid and started like working my way through this like cookie Bible basically.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I got the baking bug. And I kind of became fascinated with kind of the creativity within the confines of science, right? Like there's only so much you can play with or push a recipe before it doesn't work. And I always kind of loved that equation, right? Like the
Mhm.
kind of puzzle of it all. Like how can I execute my vision based on the structure of this cookie?
I should have had you make my prom dress. Mine broke during prom. So,
I mean, there was one wardrobe malfunction, but luckily I was there. I was at prom. So, and I had like my like sewing kit with me. It was
oh
pretty
my
wild.
gosh. So you were like the handyman for prom dresses?
I was, yeah.
I love that. What was the first recipe that you kind of got into? You got into cookies. Was it like chocolate chip cookies or
It was
more?
cookies, and the one that like I really like kind of hit my stride with was it was this peanut butter cookie that I
Mhm.
was like, why don't I do peanut butter cookie base, peanut butter cups, and chocolate covered pretzels? And
Ooh.
that was like the hit. And this like sweet, salty, I mean, clearly I've carried that with me my
Mhm.
career. But that was the one that like everyone loved, that I'd bring into work and everyone was like, this is incredible. So yeah, that was the cookie.
That sounds good. Yeah. What was your favorite sweet growing up? Did your household tend to favor towards pastries and sweets? Were you like a cooking household or not really?
So my mother is vegan and
Okay.
gluten free and kind of all of these kind of dietary things before it became commonplace or before we really spoke about it, which
Mhm.
as a kid was not an ideal upbringing because I felt deprived of everything. I wasn't really, but now as an adult I have such a more healthy relationship with food
Mhm.
than I think people who have kind of had to learn in their adulthood. So but growing up I used to go to the corner store on the way home from school. And do you remember slush puppies?
That sounds really familiar.
So they weren't slushies. It was a different machine. It was almost like these little pellet ice, like tiny, tiny crushed pellet ice in the sugar syrup. And then, of course, it was all of the pump flavors. That was a
Oh,
huge thing for me. And like it was right when Blue Raspberry came out. So
mhm.
I used to like try to hide the fact that I had gone to the corner store, but I'd come home with like a bright blue mouth, and my mother would be like, that's not blueberries. But so it was all like the kind of convenience store stuff, like Charleston chews, frozen
Oh
Charleston
my God.
chews, love.
Hmm.
Twix are still like my go-to from
Me
the
too.
candy aisle. I mean, they just kind of hit all of the marks.
Hmm.
And then those slush puppies. But
Oh
yeah, I
my
used
gosh.
to,
No.
like my mother is such a like open, caring, loving person. So like I never had to hide anything that I did, like it was such an open and accepting household too, except when I'd come home with like the blue mouth. And she's like, "Do you know how terrible that is for you?"
See, that was fruit roll-ups for me when they had the tattoos on them or whatever it was called, and then you would put them on your mouth.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah,
opt for.
the telltale sign. And it's funny, actually, speaking of Halloween Baking Championship, because there's so much like decoration that happens and like the vibrant colors or,
Mhm.
or saturated colors for Halloween.
Mhm.
A lot of times, Carla and Stephanie and John and I, like in between judging sessions, end up looking at each other and like opening our mouths and being like, is my mouth black? I feel like my mouth is black right now. Like, is it purple? Like,
They're like gonna be like, cut. We have to clean
exactly.
everyone's mouth.
They're like, why do you look like a giraffe? Like, why is your tongue a completely different color?
I know, because you're trying so many different things. That's funny. I'm now that we're talking about that, I'll get into that a little bit more. That hasn't started filming yet, right? It's too early for that.
No comment.
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It normally
I didn't know you
it
did that
normally
early.
films somewhere in the summer. So
Oh,
we've done it in August, we've done it in May.
really? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay.
It's just kind of it's the progression, right? Because they
Yeah.
film, there's a baking championship for every season, plus the specials, plus cookies, plus everything. So they kind of basically shoot it all in order. But because of that, it takes a while to film each season. So
Right. Well, they have to edit it and everything too for the fall.
yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Okay.
we're now doing, 7 or 8 episodes of Halloween. Like when I started, it was I think 6. I think originally it was like
Okay.
4. So I mean,
Hmm.
Halloween now starts to air the first week in September, which is
Okay. I never
wild
really
too.
realized that. That
Yeah,
is wild.
I don't know about this year, but
Right. Well, it always kind of changes, but I know the premiere date is normally around September.
yeah.
I was kind of looking at the dates. I was going to ask actually, what are you most looking forward to with judges Carla Hall, Stephanie, and then the host John Henson? What are you guys? I know you guys have a really good vibe. What are you looking forward to?
They're the best. We're family, and spending time together, spending all that time together too. I mean, when you're shooting those shows, they're pretty long days for the judges, and for us,
Mhm.
luckily, we have our hair and makeup time for the costumes, which occupies time. A lot of times in the non Halloween shows, when the contestants are
Mhm.
baking, you're kind of just sitting in your dressing room or your trailer playing Nintendo or doing whatever you do. For us, we're basically in hair and makeup when they're cooking. And all three of us, three judges, we all do it together. We all sit in the same room and have our hair and makeup done because we like to hang out. We could just hide in our dressing rooms, and then we go out to dinner
Right.
afterwards. I mean, it's like, it is just, it's such a crazy family and I adore them. And, John, I love, and I've loved him since Talk Soup. And like my father and I used to watch Jeopardy and Talk Soup growing up.
Jeopardy. That's a
We
big one
did
in my
not watch,
household.
yeah, we did not watch sports. We watched Jeopardy and we watched Talk Soup. And actually, so my first season of Halloween, which was season 3, which was also John's first season, we
Okay.
the night before, they didn't tell us who was hosting. We just got like the call sheet, and it just said like host John pickup. And we were shooting in New Orleans, and I was texting with Carla because she hadn't landed yet. And I was at the gym in the hotel, and we were talking like, who's John? John who? Like, who's John? Like, and we were kind of like running out the options. And I leave the gym, I'm sweaty and gross, and I get into the elevator, and there's John Henson. And he's 6'3", by the way, too, and I am not.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't
I'm
think he was that
5'6".
tall.
He's like 6'3", maybe 6'2", but like he is tall. So I walk into the elevator, and there's John Henson, and I look up, right? Because he is a telephone pole, and I go, "Oh my God, you're John." And he looks at me like I'm nuts, because I am. And he's like, yes, I am, in his John voice. And I'm at a total loss for words because I'm such a fanboy. Slash, like, I might have had a little crush on him growing up, maybe. And I'm like,
Honestly, he's everywhere though.
yeah,
I think I would have crushed him too, to be honest.
yeah. Well, he's funny, he's handsome, he's such a good
Yeah.
person to like, we become friends. But I was like, me Zach, me Judge, literally cannot make sentences. And I'm like, I press the wrong floor, and I'm like, see you tomorrow, and I run out. And then I text the producers, and I'm like, you didn't tell me it was John Henson. Please tell him I'm harmless.
They're like, oh, he quit the next morning because he saw Zach in the elevator.
Exactly. Yeah, John quit. But it's kind of wild in the 8 years or 7 years that we are super close friends now. And he's such a good guy, and he's so funny.
Did he do Cupcake Wars, or am I mixing him up?
No,
with
he
someone
didn't.
else?
That Halloween is the only thing he's done on Food Network.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was mixing him up. I remember you told me that you kind of switched roles from being Simon Cowell of the group to the Paula Abdul when Stephanie joined. What's your judging criteria look like? What goes through your head?
I think because I've been on both sides of the table, I've competed and I've judged so much that I know the pitfalls and the struggles and the reality of cooking in that situation. It's a new kitchen, it's different equipment. As pastry chefs, we're used to our home base, we're used to our own toys. And, there's just things that it's new choreography, like the oven temperatures. You just basically do something right out of the gate, only do it once, not have a practice round, not get to know, the ovens. There's a real learning curve with that. So while, yes, we are judging what's in front of us, I do take into considerations the reality of the challenge of cooking competitively. So I feel like, like Paula, who was a performer, is still was, like did that. Like she knows what it's like to be up there on that stage, and I feel like, it's kind of the same thing with me. I mean, and also I think I'm the fun one.
I always say that about
Yeah.
myself too.
Yeah. But it also means that I do also kind of have my Tyra Banks moments of like, we were rooting for you, like you're better than this, because I also know I know what it's like too. So I feel like it's a double-edged sword of like, yeah, I'm understanding, but also like my expectations for them are really high. So there is this kind of like mom element to me there too.
Well, you want to critique them so you can challenge them, they can get better, but you also want to give them advice and aid them along the way. But do you find yourself giving them advice often?
All the time. I mean, I think that's the experience for them, right? Like they're not just coming on, hopefully they're not just coming on to get beat up. you know
Yeah.
I think we really want them beyond just this competition, to really take things away. And that my experience in competing the things that I took away, the things that I kind of challenged myself to do, or the things that naturally came out of competition, completely
Mhm.
changed the way I thought about food and some of the ways that I cook. So, I
Mhm.
feel like, it's not just judging the dish before us, but it's also kind of critically thinking about their food, their process, and also praising them. I mean, I've learned so much judging too that, like
Mhm.
the takeaways that I've got, like every baker who's come on has taught me something. And there's been moments where I'm like, that is brilliant. So to
Mhm.
also encourage them.
Right. I was just going to say they all come from such different backgrounds. And what I'm learning through this podcast, too, is how different everyone is when it comes to food. But I kind of wanted to get into your first appearance on a cooking show. Was it Top Chef
Top Chef, just
Just
desserts.
Desserts? Your first one? Okay.
Yep.
I was reading because at the time you were working under Alex Guarnaschelli at Butter
I
Restaurant, which was like
had
early 2000s.
No, I had just left Butter and I was
Oh,
opening
okay.
the Flex Mussels restaurants in the city.
Okay. Were those donut pop-ups?
So Flex Mussels was the seafood restaurants, and then
Okay.
the donuts on that menu became so popular that we decided to do separate kind of donut pop-ups
Uh,
based off of that.
okay, cool. So when I was looking at like through your background and stuff, I saw that Top Chef actually reached out to you originally, but Alex was like, "No, you don't really cook." So then you waited for Just Desserts. That's true, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was like season 2 of Top Chef, casting reached out and I was like, "Oh, that I don't know, maybe." And Alex was like, "You don't really cook real food on that level. Just wait. Eventually they'll get to desserts." And she was right.
Do you feel like that was kind of a catalyst for your career as a pastry chef because you were booming and then you got the television appearance?
I think, yeah, I mean, it clearly was a catalyst for so much of my career. I think kind of
Mm-hmm.
establishing myself in like at Bouchon, going to Butter, and then starting to work for the restaurant groups, that like my professional trajectory there was, kind of establishing itself. And I think I'd been cooking for like 5 years at that point. And
Okay.
then, yeah, I mean, Top Chef really, I think, put me on the map in terms of food too. And subsequently, they were launching Cooking Channel at the time and developing Unique Sweets, which was the travel show.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up doing 7 seasons of that. But it was really because of Top Chef that they reached out. Oddly, media was something that I never really wanted to do. It was,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the shows reached out before Top Chef, and I said no a lot because I didn't want to feel like kind of my old life in in the theater and in performing.
Uh,
And even now, I mean, I joke that it's my night job, and I really, I do it because it's fun and I think it's good exposure for, the brand and products and all of that. Sure. I mainly do it because it's fun. And I always said to myself, when it's not fun anymore, I won't do it.
right.
Because I don't want to feel like I'm hustling or pounding the pavement or, kind of back in that world. But yeah, Top Chef really kicked it off.
Yeah, that would make sense. Do you feel like going on these shows you have to kind of perform a little bit, or it seems like you can kind of be yourself with the people that are co-hosting with you or co-judging
Yeah,
with you?
I mean, it's weird actually because coming from a performance background, going into
Mhm.
playing yourself, which is actually probably harder than any role. So it was a learning curve. I mean, Top Chef was one thing because you're competing, right? Like you're doing stuff and they're
Mhm.
filming you, right? So that kind of takes care of
Mhm.
itself. But when you went into
Mhm.
like Unique Sweets, which was just all interview, right? It was like eat food, then talk about it. That
Right.
was kind of hard because it's like act natural. Oh, just be yourself. And you're like, okay, be myself, but with two cameras pointed at me in a room full of lights, a producer sitting there, and my
Yeah.
nerves. You like, and of course, in the beginning of Unique Suites or the first few like interviews that I filmed, the producers kept saying like, just you can just talk, like just because I was like, this cupcake's amazing, it's the greatest, and they're like, you can talk like a normal person, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to smile from ear to ear every single
Yeah,
time you say
you don't have to
something.
use jazz hands unless you want to.
No, I would do the same. You want to come off like you have charisma.
Right, right. And you want to appear smart. You want to appear funny, knowledgeable. And I think not overthinking it is really the key. Like only in the past few years have I kind of been like, you know what? Who cares? Like I know my stuff. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna speak words, and I'm gonna go home.
Hmm.
And I think the kind of, pardon my French, the fuck it of it all, as opposed to thinking of like, oh wait, what am I gonna say? Or oh no, they're never gonna use that. It's like, you know what?
Hmm.
That's what editing's for. You know, so like I'm just, and oddly, I've been surprised because there are things that I've maybe wanted to say in the past that I haven't said, or like thoughts that came into my head that I was like, no, no, they won't use that. And
Hmm.
recently I've just got, and the things that have made the final cut like have shocked me. I'm like, that was an inside joke for the control room, by the way. Like that was not not meant to be aired, but I said it.
Now I need to watch it like that and know if
Yeah.
it's an inside joke or like meant to make the final cut.
You can normally tell because I post it on my Instagram story if it's something
Oh,
like without comment, but like I'll just post the footage of it. But yeah, it playing yourself was was hard in the beginning, I'd say.
mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, but you've like kind of like you said, you've come to a point where you know what you're doing and they hired you for a reason and you have good rapport with everyone else that's working on the show. So I don't think they'd want you to hold back, at least if they're putting stuff in that you didn't think would make
Well,
it.
yeah, it's like, you know what, you're there for a reason. I think like, you know, like any
Hmm.
job too. It's like, you know what, they hired me because they wanted me,
Hmm.
and go with that, you know?
Exactly. Simply put, exactly. The confidence. Confidence is
Yes.
key.
Or faking it.
Hey, sometimes faking it leads to
Oh,
real confidence.
absolutely.
Yeah. The other day I went to it was drag bingo. So it was my first time at a drag bar and I was so excited. And I was looking at all these people and I was like, oh my gosh, everyone here is so confident. They're dressed so good, whatever, whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna be confident, I'm gonna win bingo, and then I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna just kill it. And I won bingo and then I made friends with everyone and they were just like, confidence is key. So now I'm using that every time I walk outside. My posture's better. I'm gonna
There
take
you
it with
go.
me.
Right? Fake it till you make it.
That's all you need. So you mentioned Unique Sweets. You were on it for 7
Hmm.
seasons. So with your experience competing and judging on baking shows, is there one that you haven't been on that maybe you would like to be?
Oh, I mean, Great British Baking Show, but I don't think that's possible. Guys, grocery games.
Everyone gives me that answer.
It just, I mean, one, I love Supermarket Sweep. Two, I actually love, I do love competing, and I love cooking, and you know, like the
Mhm.
Beat Bobby. holiday special we did last year, like so much fun. So like those
Mhm.
opportunities, it's like fast, it's fun, and it's like supermarket sweep. So yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat.
That's a good answer. That always seems like a fun one. And Guy Fieri, you can't
Yeah.
lose with him. Because Unique Sweets was obviously a show based on unusual desserts, is there one pastry or several, whatever you remember, that you were pleasantly surprised by or maybe make yourself?
So we did Sidecar Donuts, which is in Costa Mesa, and like they
Mm.
have a few locations in Southern California now. And
Okay.
we did them for Unique Sweets, and their donuts are fantastic. They had a green eggs and ham donut, which the producers wouldn't let us do for the show because they're like, this is called Unique Sweets. That is a savory item. But it was
Wow.
a yeast raised donut with a soft boiled egg in the middle of it. I still don't know how they did this. And
Okay.
Canadian bacon or shaved ham and a basil hollandaise filling. It was so
Huh.
good. I mean, it was a savory, clearly a savory item,
Mhm.
but in 7 seasons and hundreds of locations, that was something
Mhm.
that stuck out to me. Maybe because they told us that we couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
But whenever they say no, you want to do it more or you think
Exactly,
about it more.
exactly.
That's funny. Yeah, that sounds green eggs and ham. That's so interesting. I was actually going to ask you if you were on board with, because donuts nowadays are really grandiose and they have a ton of toppings and different fillings. Do you kind of find yourself gearing towards that, or are you more in tune with the classic donut flavors?
Oh God, that's a tricky question. The answer is yes. To both. I
So both.
love the classics, you know. I mean, honestly,
Hmm.
I'm from New England, so a Dunkin' Donut chocolate
Hmm.
cake donut or the chocolate cake munchkins, magical.
Oh,
Like
so good.
magical.
Hmm.
Simple, brilliant. But
Hmm.
I also love donuts as a blank canvas, whether they be filled or topped or stuffed. I appreciate
Hmm.
the classics and I love the innovation. I mean, my whole thing is as
Okay.
long as it's good.
Yeah, that's fair. I used to be obsessed with Dunkin' Donuts. Actually kind of still am, but in high school I was always eating the strawberry
That
frosted
was
with
my
sprinkles.
when my father would take us in the morning if he was taking us to school. No, no,
Not your
no.
mom.
No, if dad was taking us to school, occasionally there'd be a stop at Dunkies, and that was my go-to.
Love it. Okay, I would do that, and then they don't sell this anymore, but the Arnold Palmer slushy
What
kind
did
of
they yeah,
thing.
what did they
Do you remember
uh
that?
not Dunka what did they
It
call
was like
them? Cafe Colada. Cafe
I
Colada.
think it.
Colada. Colada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that. It was a colada. It was colada. That's what it is. Yeah, and then I would have that was sugar overload. I was like off the wall, and then I would have to take a nap. But
Mhm.
really good overall. They should bring that back. It was probably really bad for you. That's probably why they took it off. But with fine dining evolving, or I feel like it's actually becoming less relevant. We were talking about your pop up donuts, whatever. I'm curious what your opinions are on pop up restaurants today.
I mean, I think pop-ups are brilliant. I think they're a way to test a concept before investing in a space. I mean, it is a massive undertaking to open something permanent
Mhm.
from
That's true.
from signing a 10-year lease to construction, like the actual logistics of it
Okay.
beyond just the kind of creative property of it, right? It's an
Mhm.
enormous undertaking. So I think for,
Hmm.
for the creator, for the chef or the owner to bring the concept to life, see it in action,
Hmm.
see the guests' reactions, I think it's
Hmm.
invaluable. I also think for the consumer, it's a way to kind of experience something completely different, something that you might not get otherwise. One of
Right.
my favorite restaurants on Cape Cod, Sal's, did a pop up in LA this
Oh,
winter,
okay.
which was like
Oh,
never like Sal's is this tiny place on the beach in P Town, and it's
uh-huh.
cash only. It is always packed, and it has been that way since. I mean, I've been going there since I was 16, so
Hmm.
you do the math. But,
Yeah.
they did an LA pop-up and all of my friends went because everyone knew this place. So like they got to experience, something that was so specific to one geographic location. So I think that's also kind of the magic of pop-ups too, is to be able to do kind of a traveling show, if you will. But I'm a huge
Right.
fan of pop-ups. I mean, I did the two donut pop-ups. We did the two Sprinkletown pop-ups 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and that helped launch. I did those
Hmm.
not necessarily to open shops. I did them really to kind of test out the new retail products, and to have an outlet for that. So
Okay.
sometimes it's not even about testing the waters for a permanent location. Sometimes it's just, what,
Hmm.
it's whim, like, hey, let's do this. We can do it for a couple months. It's lower risk. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really good way to build your brand too. But I was going to say, do you feel like it helps in the marketing aspect of everything that you're kind of doing just to promote yourself, but also projects that you have
I
or
think it
whatever
depends
else?
on, I guess, what your end result is, right? So,
Hmm.
if the pop-up is promoting some other product that you're selling, like if it's a direct to consumer product or a retail product, that makes sense. If it's promoting or working towards a permanent location of something, I think that makes sense.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it
Right.
just depends on what your desired outcome is. But I mean, I think
Hmm.
as long as you have something to market, I think it's a great marketing tool.
That's true. I know Netflix Bites. I've been hearing about that over here. It's one of the big pop-ups. I know Jacques Torres was. I think they were just here for opening night, but Andrew Zimmern, and then think some Iron Chefs.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it's kind of been still here for a while, but I missed the Cape Cod one by a few months.
Womp womp.
Ah, I love Cape Cod. That's my
Well,
favorite
maybe they'll do it
place.
this winter.
Oh yeah, maybe. I'll have to look out for it. What's your go-to pastry right now? What are you cooking up? It's summer. I mean, you're filming for Halloween, so I don't know what you're cooking.
Well, summer, late summer, especially in the Northeast, is when we actually kind of have all of the produce. So and speaking of the Cape
Hmm.
too, I spend a lot of the summer on the Cape, or as much time as I can.
As you should.
So my go-to for that is always a slab pie or like an open face galette type situation, with just
Okay.
whatever fruit looks good, easily treated. It bakes really quickly too, because the last thing you want to do on a beautiful summer day is be stuck in the kitchen with a hot oven. Those are
Yes.
my kind of this time of year or late summer go tos. And then year round is always cookies, just because they're fast, kind of immediate gratification,
Hmm.
fast to make, fast to bake,
Hmm.
crowd pleasers.
Do you normally go for your own kind of recipe, or a lot of people go off Nestle Toll House all the time? How would you upgrade like Nestle Toll House or kind of
I
one of
think
those
playing with the
basic
sugars,
recipes?
right? So like dark brown sugar, muscovado sugar, like kind of the deeper, richer sugars. I think playing with your butter, so
Mhm.
brown butter, browning your butter, letting it cool, then using it.
Okay.
And then I think, there's a lot of kind of flavoring out there, but good vanilla and of course sweet and salty. So little bit of crunchy salt on top.
That's a good point. I actually recently used molasses in cookies, and I've been using brown sugar as well, and I switched it
Yeah.
up, and it's such a game
Yeah, I
changer.
mean it affects both the taste and texture. You'll get a chewier cookie with more brown sugar or darker brown sugar, more molasses. But you'll also get kind of more of that
Hmm.
earthy molasses flavor too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm still kind of testing the waters with my cookies recipes because I haven't found one that I'm totally obsessed with yet. So
This
I
is
need to
how
find
this
one.
is how I got started.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'll make my way as a pastry chef, but I'm gonna try. I'll just keep interviewing them and learning.
Yes.
So you trained in France as well. Was that before you were working at Butter Restaurant?
It
Was that after? What's the
was
timeline?
while I was at Butter, I took a couple weeks off, went to France, and then came back and then
Okay.
did it again like a year or so later. So I had already kind of started at Butter, and then I was like, "Oh, time for some continuing education." So I went
Uh-huh.
twice actually.
Okay. And what was your biggest takeaway from that? Maybe just a tip for aspiring pastry chefs or anything that you learned.
So the first time I was working with Valrhona, the chocolate
Okay.
manufacturer, the chocolate
Uh-huh.
company. They are incredibly technical, which I love. So, we're talking kind of chemical stuff, molecular level
Hmm.
stuff, fats, sugars. Chocolate is can be such a technical ingredient.
Yes.
And I love that. And that kind of deep dive into it has kind of stuck with me to this day because once you know the how and why of baking, you can start to play.
Hmm.
So, once you have that kind of solid foundation or technique or know why these ingredients do these things,
Hmm.
you can start playing with it. It gave me so much freedom just to understand this one ingredient more.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mentioned Jacques Torres before because I interviewed him. You definitely know this already, but he taught me that basically the chocolate chips don't melt because they have so many other things contributed to it. So when I switched to either went to Trader Joe's or Ghirardelli or whatever had more cacao percentage, it was so much better and it actually melted and the cookie tasted like actual what it's supposed to taste like pretty much
Yes.
versus like I don't know all the fats or whatever they put in that doesn't make it melt in the oven. But then he was like, well, think about what you're putting in your body, and then it probably won't melt like in your body. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was mind blowing.
Yeah. I never really thought about that with chocolate chips in terms of your body, but yes, chocolate chips are actually designed not to melt.
Yeah.
They were designed to kind of stay intentionally suspended,
Okay.
and that's it's also the palm kernel oil, the lecithin, etc.
Right.
Whereas couverture or regular chocolate
Mhm.
behaves completely differently.
Okay. I remember too. You said the worst thing you hated coating chocolate on Halloween baking championship. That was your thing.
It is one of my things. Yes. I think that's also because I have such a chocolate background too,
Hmm.
and there are so many kind of shortcuts you can take with real chocolate
Hmm.
that don't take any longer than melting coating chocolate.
Hmm.
And I feel like people reach for coating chocolate because they think it's faster,
Right.
but it for me, the waxiness, the flavor of it, when you could use actual chocolate for the same results.
Right.
But again, like that's kind of one thing that I coach them on too, as opposed to just saying, I hate coating chocolate.
Hmm.
I do also offer, like, you can microwave temper really quickly,
Hmm.
regular chocolate, use it this way. blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like coating chocolate's a cop-out. You're better than that.
I mean, that makes sense. You had your Bob Ross costume telling them not to coat chocolate.
Where's that wig? I don't remember if I took that wig. I normally take all the wigs.
Well, for someone who works in a wig department or worked in a wig department, you should collect them.
I do. I have quite the collection.
That's so funny. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this because you are filming right now, but is there a costume that you are looking forward to or something that you're excited for?
Oh, this season's good. Yes.
Do you normally come up with the ideas or is it a team effort?
It's collaborative. So
Okay.
the first season, my first season, the producers kind of had them decided, and then the second season, unsolicited, I sent an email that was like, "Hey, just some thoughts," and kind of picked and choose. And now the past few seasons, we've had themes, which are fun.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times the producers now kind of have these ideas for the episodes too, which are fun. But also everything is kind of done on the fly too. Like sometimes it feels like community theater. Like we are just like throwing it together.
Mhm.
And that's actually really fun because like our wardrobe supervisor, like we're doing fittings the day before and it's like, oh wait, what if we did this? What if we did that? And same thing, like our hair and makeup team is insane. And it's like a lot of times we just sit in the chair and they're like, so I'm thinking this, and we're like, and what about that? And so it's also like very much created in real time too, which is part of the fun.
Uh-huh. I know. I always see Carla's behind the scene videos too when you guys are filming. They look so fun.
It's wild.
Oh my gosh. Well, you put so much effort in and you spent so many hours doing it, so they have to be good.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so I don't want to hold you too long because I have a short game for you if you're into it. It's like a kind of a little
I'm
lightning
into it.
round. Cool. So I'm going to name 5 popular baking trends right now, and then you'll tell me if you are going to smash or pass it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. You could say 4 or against 2. I always give everyone that option.
I like smash and pass.
All right, cool. First one, street food inspired desserts. So I saw actually the other day an empanadas stuff with apples and cinnamon kind of thing, which I thought was interesting. So what's your take?
Smash. I'm into it.
Okay, I'm into it too. Viral crunchy croissant. Did you see that?
The like caramelized one,
Yeah,
like with the pan thing. Oh, smash. Absolutely. Like bring it on. Buttery, caramely, crunchy. Yes.
I haven't tried that yet, but it's looks easy enough, so I should definitely do
Yeah.
it. Okay, number 3, upside down puff pastries. That was a TikTok thing too for a while.
Upside down puff
Yeah,
pastry.
so they place the fruit basically on the bottom of the pan first, and then they put the pastry,
Oh.
and then
Yeah, I've seen that. I think that's smart. I think anything that saves time and has a great result, I'll smash that.
okay. And then number 4, because you're in New York, I asked another New Yorker this recently, but the Lafayette Bakery croissants. What do you think on those? Have you seen those?
I haven't tried them. I think they look amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that like laminated doughs are such a specific skill
Mhm.
that they look incredible. So kudos. Yeah, I should actually go get one.
You should go get one. It's on my list, and they're gonna have probably revolving flavors soon with the holidays. So,
Mm.
and number 5, you're gonna like this one, the pie cakin.
Smash. Yeah, season 8, year 8 is coming, and the original Thanksgiving one is going strong, and I may or may not be working on a new holiday one because why
Ooh,
not change it up?
I thought. Did you do a Christmas one? Am I making that
We
up?
did. We've done a Christmas one every year,
Okay.
and it's been the same for the past, I want to say, 3 or 4 years. And I
Okay.
feel like this is a good year to change it up. So
Okay. People at home, could you explain what it is quickly?
the pie so
Yeah.
pie started as the turducken of desserts. It
Mhm.
started as kind of a joke, and now it is not. But I said, why not take all of the Thanksgiving desserts and build them into one cake? So
Mhm.
pecan pie, pumpkin pie, spice cake, layered with cinnamon buttercream, topped with
Mhm.
apple pie filling. So it's 3 pies and a cake, built like a cake. So you get one bite of everything, basically. Kind of solved the Thanksgiving problem of not having enough space on the plate. And now, of course, we have them for pretty much every holiday.
Ooh, you're working on another one? That's exciting.
Yeah, Christmas pie cake and version 3.0.
Ah, okay, I'm looking out for it. But I have my last and final question for you. If there is one baking utensil, product, appliance that you think everyone should splurge on, what would it be and why?
A KitchenAid. I
That's a
mean,
good
it's the
one.
workhorse of the kitchen, and it's not replaceable. I mean, you can do everything by hand, of course, but from making doughs to whisking, there's also a million attachments too, if you
Mhm.
want to use it as a Cuisinart, or the pasta roller is great too. But I
Mhm.
think a solid 6-quart KitchenAid too, the drop bowl version,
Okay.
not the tilt head. I mean, I have 6 KitchenAids, so I have one in every size actually. But I just like the slightly larger size, just because you can make more stuff.
Do you have them in all different colors?
I do, yes. There's 4 of them are actually out in my kitchen right now.
Oh my gosh.
Just it's a little display.
Do you have like 5 cookies just baking at one time during the holidays and it's just an insane kitchen?
My freezer is normally full of cookie dough, actually.
Oh, overnight cookies. Those are the best kind.
Just like just like hanging out. That way friends come over and they're like, because I don't really have food in my house.
I was going to ask, do you cook really?
I cook for other people. I don't
Oh,
cook for myself.
okay.
But, I entertain a lot, so
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a thing with pastry chefs, if they don't really cook or bake for themselves, but it's more for kind of everyone else.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So you can follow Zac Young at Zac Young on Instagram to keep up with his latest recipes and projects. Hey, fellow foodies, thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave me a review. And while you're at it, make sure to follow me at livvinforfoodpod on Instagram or TikTok, or email me at livvinforfoodpod@gmail.com. Let me know what you're cooking up this week, which guests you would like to see on the podcast, or tell me your opinions on the latest viral food trend. Until next time.